All right, guys, I'm so glad you got a chance to join us. Today, we're going to start the listing agent section of this series. Now, a couple episodes ago, we started a series called How to Agent. Just kind of an introduction for people that are just getting licensed or just getting serious about being in the industry of what to do and, moreover, how to think about it. We talk a lot about technical skills during some of the segments of our podcast. We're going to talk a lot about the technical skills in episodes to come. But these first couple in this series is more about the mental skills and the emotional skills of understanding where you're trying to go and what the game actually is. So, with that said, today we're talking about listings, and that's why I'm so excited Leah's here to join me. She's absolutely killing it with listings out there in the frozen country. So, Leah, I'd love to hear, just to start, what is your thought process, coming back to my favorite word, syntax, what do you do when to go ahead and earn ups, earn opportunities to talk to sellers, and then go ahead and close them, get it signed, and get moving forward?
Excellent. Well, I'm
How
so
do you
happy.
listing agent?
Excellent. Thanks so much for that lovely introduction. I mean, you're killing it too, and this is why I'm so happy that we're able to do this together. In terms of kind of getting that preparation and where to start, it can get really overwhelming. You're getting into a realm where you're talking to strangers and you're having to put on your best, foot forward, show that confidence. And as a new agent, it can be really nerve wracking, showing that you are there to do the best job for them. It can be really, really scary. And so everyone's been there. Don't worry about it. The more times you do it, the better you get at it. And I'm sure both of us can say that it does take a little bit of time and practice. And what's great about both of us, we can attest to being on a team where you have a realm to practice with. Get somebody that you trust to help you to practice and prepare, because that's how you're going to make the difference there. What I like to highlight just really quickly, and I'll throw it back to you, Zach, is just to highlight what it means to be a listing agent. You're there to provide a professional consultation when you do set that appointment, right? The home evaluation is what we usually call it. You're there to help them determine an asking price for their home competitively based on, what the market's doing. There's different strategies out there. You're there to help market and sell their home at the end of the day. You're there to schedule showings or, facilitate, other agents coming in to do those showings. And then you're communicating and negotiating with buyers to get them the best deal on their behalf. And lastly, something that I always want to highlight is when you're working with a listing agent, you're also working with someone who can recommend other professionals. They're there to kind of encompass everything for you, whether that be, with a staging company or an appraiser, mortgage broker, any of those professionals that are a part of the team when you do list your house. We can also help you with that. Have I covered most things that you really kind of see yourself as when you go into a listing presentation, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the major topics, and I'm glad that we're starting right there with what actually, once it's signed, what is a listing agent? And, I agree entirely with everything you were saying. The way I see it is you're the liaison between the seller and everything they want to accomplish. Your job isn't to do it. Your job is to be able to translate from what the seller says to what they actually want and understand that, and then communicate this to your team of professionals to actually achieve it. Be that your marketing team, your cold callers, your the people writing the copy on your ads, anyone doing construction repairs, connecting them to financing, that whole world. And then relaying that whole world, we have industry jargon all the time. We talk about things like cap rates and returns and ARV and all those different stuff. The seller doesn't care about that. So it's your ability to translate the industry jargon back over in a system that the seller can actually understand and appreciate. This is a big deal for them, even if they have multiple homes. This is just their vacation home. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of emotions, and it's your ability to understand their goals, achieve their goals, and explain everything in a way that is stress relieving and concise.
I like that.
Would
I
you
really
agree?
do. Yeah, yeah. That's great that you brought up. I like that you said that, a lot of these sellers quote unquote don't care, and it's not to, you know, put a damper on, you know, their thought processes or anything like that about what happens with the deal. It's more or less, this is our realm, this is an industry, this is a professional setting where we are acting as the professionals, and sellers, they have their own types of jobs that they are professionals and experts at. So we're here to educate, we're here to share, but also to make it simplified for you. Like, real estate should be simplified to make it easy to grasp and easy to approach, but also still exceeding expectations.
100%. And that gets into one of the lines that I've used a lot lately in talking with a couple of different clients and their different listing appointments, is the idea that you have to be smarter than the robot, right? The Zillow algorithm, the Realtors algorithm, everyone's got an algorithm. It spits out a number for your home, it spits out an offer. If I can't provide more value than the algorithm, if I'm not smarter than the robot, then I'm really not helping. So it's about leaning on the skills that the robot can't do. The robot can't price in what a creek's worth, what a view's worth. A robot can't take all the stress off the seller's shoulders and give them something easy, consistent, and concise to work with while they pack up their lives, transfer their jobs, and do everything else they're doing. So that's really where you want to lean to. You can, we'll talk about this in a second. Being on a team lets you leverage your team's wins, your team's marketing plans, and all of that. That's amazing. And at some point, that's part of the conversation. But it's a very short part of the conversation. Most of the conversation with the seller, and Lee, I'm sure I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Most of the conversation with the seller is about what are they looking for and what is their end result, and just building up that rapport. Once you have that, that's the big thing we're bringing to the table. Then the actual pitching of the marketing plan and closing on them just lines up nicely. Is that your experience? Would you agree?
I like that you said that it is a small portion, you know, to talk about those wins when you're going into a listing presentation, or, you know, talking on the phone with a potential client with a home. It is such a small portion. You really do need to connect with them on a different level, and you'll notice some brokerages are more focused on relationship building that really kind of solidifies some sort of transaction moving forward. So in a brokerage, we're both working under Keller Williams, that full brokerage, and they are big on relationship, is a big part of the business. You'll notice different models with different other brokerages, but this is, I think, gives us an edge as well, because we're not just here to do a deal and move forward. We're here to facilitate an honest relationship as well, and act professional the whole entire time. So do you want to just talk about really quickly where to start? I know we kind of talked it through with the buyer side of things last episode. Where do you start? Where do you find people with homes that want to sell? Where do you find them, Zach?
Well, that's how we started. This whole thing got started off with something called Cold Calling Champions. Please join our Facebook group if you want to check out some more shorts. We're building a community out there with different people supporting each other. And that's where you start. It's cold calling and just making those phone calls. So who can you call? You got FSBOs. Great thing about a FSBO, that's a for sale by owner, is they've got one hand up in the air. They're saying, hey, I want to sell my house. If they are giving you an issue about, oh, I don't work with agents, what they're really saying is, I don't trust you, and I'm not certain that you can actually help me or that you're on my side. They don't actually have a problem with agents 99.99% of the time. That's a fact. It's always 99.99, not 99.98. You can call expireds. Expireds are cool because they got two hands up. They say, hey, I want to sell my house and I'll hire an agent. Just sell it for me. And then the third place is circle prospecting. And that's when you call people for being homeowners. And that's actual cold calling. You can think of the first two as warm calls. Beyond that, you've got your sphere. Leah, what kind of strategies do you like to use to generate these appointments? Because they're all different strategies with different returns on your time.
Yes. some of the other lead generation strategies that we try to implement on our team is leveraging social media. So some of those are paid ads as well through Facebook and Instagram. Would I say the return on those leads get potentially the same results as other lead generation sources? It is kind of up in the air, and the percentages can vary. Same with cold calling. Sometimes you want to cold call on some sort of dialer. We use Mojo. Sometimes the percentages work really, really great. The ratios there are there to continue doing it consistently. And that's why we still, as a team, cold call here. I like to leverage time to be a little bit with my hand in many pots. I know some people might say, you know, I just want to focus on one solid lead generation style, and that's going to do the job for me. As a new agent, you might also want to start putting your hands in many different pots and try them all out consistently for, you know, 3 to 5 months to see what might be reaping you the best benefits, and then go from there and see if you want to kind of change your time up a bit about where you are spending that time. So social media is a big one. I've seen it time and time again. There's new programs out there for agents that are really leveraging using advertisements that and a whole other, you know, graphic design team will put in place for you, and there's different avenues that way if you want to use, and it does cost money. But if we are talking about you're just right out the gate, you don't want to really pay for anything because you need some money to actually put in, cold calling, circle prospecting, as Zach said, is great, and leveraging your team's souls as well in those neighborhoods, and, you know, door knocking as well, which I don't
when
think
it's legal.
right, when it's legal, we're gonna do that. Awesome.
Yeah,
What else?
I love that, and I love that you brought up putting your hands in multiple pots. The first 6 months to a year of being an agent, commit to like 6 or 7 different types of lead gen, and really specifically, like if you go back to our first episode, we talked about time blocking, right? But you have to like actually knock out chunks of time and then do it and hold that. But you want to hold that for 6 or 7 months. That's going to give you the data you need to say, hey, this is worth my time or this isn't. Like I was just getting done with circle prospecting. It is not fun. You get, not typically. If you're gonna get cussed out, that's when it's gonna happen. You get a lot of no's. You get a lot of rude people because I'm calling you up at 8:30 or 9 o'clock in the morning saying, "Hey, you want to, sell your house?" And they're like, "No." Well, why would you get my number? And I'm like,
Don't
"Don't worry
bother
about
me.
it." And there's better scripts than that one. I wouldn't use that word for word, but it's not that fun. So I wanted to cut it. But because I've been keeping perfect track of my numbers, what I found is that it was actually one of my most effective lead generating sources, in terms of time, in terms of conversations, and in terms of appointments. And it was only another week or two after I thought about cutting it that I didn't. That I ended up getting a listing appointment off of circle prospecting. Got tons of contacts, people to follow up with, but I got somebody wanting to sell that week. So when you're brand new, put your hand in all the different pots, just like Leah said, and keep doing that for a while until you know which ones you're good at and you build the skills for it. Because we all start off, like, if you think about it, when you're a baby, you suck at everything. So you're just a baby in real estate. That's all.
I love that. And there's so many tools out there, like Zach, you mentioned, that really try to cater to sellers, but it tries to cut out us as a professional doing the best job that we can. You talked about Zillow. So here in Canada, we don't necessarily have that really countering against. We definitely have less for sale by owners. And here we cannot talk to expired listings that we see on the MLS. So it does change, where you can find these people who have their hand halfway up, right? So take advantage of a team, take advantage of even seeing multiple for sale signs in a neighborhood. Clearly, when one goes up, a couple other follow. So you can use that to your advantage and get those conversations geared towards that and adding value to somebody that way and talking about that. Do we want to move forward on some scripts. What do you want to move forward to? Do you want to talk about the actual listing presentation side of things? What's your main focus when you're going in as as someone looking to talk to a seller?
Yeah, I was just about to move forward in the conversation too. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about the prep stage right before the appointment. Um, Again, our personality is a little different. I like the most streamlined approach. Um, that still means you need to have research, right? This is an interview, and you have to be on point. You don't need every piece of information ever. I don't need historical photos from the 1920s, but I do need to know a couple of things. What I'm going to do is when I set the appointment, and we'll talk about the phone calling skills probably in a later episode. Um, when I set the appointment, I'm going to go ahead and make a CMA. That's a competitive market analysis. So that's going to be pulling comps, finding different price points, and I'm going to be finding it at different qualities of the home. Until I've seen it, I'm not going to know exactly what that condition is. So I'm going to make my CMA. I'm going to put together we've got a fantastic little PDF. It's like 20 pages that shows who my team is, what we support, who Keller Williams is, all the donations that Keller Williams makes, and how the marketing works. It's a very well put together packet. And then I've got a 1-page printout that I use that goes over the steps of selling your home. And it's got great visuals. It's 1 page, and it puts a visual and almost a physical aspect to the concepts we're talking about. So I put my CMA, my seller's report, my steps of selling your home, and my introduction to my team. And I put that together in an email and I send that over. The main reason for this is because as agents, we're really busy. And if you're anything like me, we're really absent-minded. So when I do my prep work on time, I can roll up to my listing appointment about 10, 15 minutes early. Being early is everything. Like that's a rule. You must be 15 minutes early. Um, I can open up my email. I already did all my work. I say, thank you, Pat Zach. Pat Zach goes, you got it, bro. And then I can walk on up to the actual listing appointment. So pausing right there, Leah, how do you do your prep work all the way up until, hi, I'm Zach?
And in my case, hi, I'm Leah. So that's great. I love that you highlighted the comparative market analysis. That's one of my favorite things. I'm a big researcher. I love all the details, even if they're not necessarily 100% needed. I'm there for the research. So I do definitely take my time with that, get familiarized with the neighborhood, do your statistics, and also especially in this market where we're noticing that it's been a big sellers market, a lot of bidding wars have been happening. I'm sure everyone's heard of them. Offer presentations with 100 $200,000 over asking because it's not priced at fair market value. When you're dealing in markets like this, I do like to have a visual, like you said, of 3 different options of how we could list their home. Being competitive and risky, being a little bit more balanced, being a little bit, one way that, leaves room for negotiations. And we can talk about these styles maybe in another episode. But I do like to have options there for them, really easy laid out so that I can show they can choose themselves how, after I've educated them, what direction they want to take. So I do spend some time talking about strategies and having a visual there for it. I do love what you said as well about including like steps to listing your home, or things that you should pay attention to when listing your home. I do like to bring out a printout of that as well, of just little tips and tricks and suggestions to help raise value without necessarily breaking the bank just before you're about to put it on the market. That's big for me. Like you said, a nice big not too crazy with the statistics or anything like that, but who the team is, what maybe we've sold and the strategies we've used, a little bit about ourselves, and some testimonials. I find when you get a third party giving a testimonial, really solidifies the type of work that we do and the professionalism. So I really like to make sure there's some testimonies in there as well in our pamphlet.
Definitely. Um, Definitely. I love it. So you're a little more research, very much the same idea And then when you are giving them multiple options, are you talking about different, basically kind of different marketing packages, different services your team can provide?
I like that you brought that up because I know your team is really big on those marketing packages, and I would love you to talk on that a little bit. When I talk about marketing, we do go into how we market homes. However, when I talk about the options of how they can list their home, I'm talking price wise and kind of the strategies
Okay.
that people use to kind of leverage buyers and different, catering to different markets and things like that and educating them on that way. But since you brought that up, please, if you wanted to go into a little bit of detail on what you mean by having different packages and listing prices for the commission.
Yeah, I'd love to go into detail with that. So, as we mentioned before, the actual conversation about marketing is this big. The listing appointment is this big. So, what goes here? What goes there is again, hey, it's great to meet you. I'm Zach O'Keller. Can I step in? Fantastic. So let's take a couple of moments, show me around the home, and let's go back over your goals. I really want to understand how you're thinking about this. And they go, oh, well, here's the kitchen counter where my nephew was born, and here's the, everything else that happened. The reason I want to get it started like that is my primary goal is I want to understand what conversation the seller's having. One thing that a lot of people get tripped up on, and I certainly did when I was starting, was I came in there trying to have my conversation. I wanted to tell you about if we list at this price, we should sell here. If we list at this price, we're going to sell here. And that's how this is going to break down. And we got these packages. So you're going to want to go here, here. And maybe that's the conversation you're having, but that's not necessarily the conversation they're having. If you were listening, what they told you is this is their family home and they don't need the money and they really care about the next person to buy it. So everything you said doesn't matter. They just heard you talk about you. Well, this is their show. So my number one concern is I want to practice active listening skills. I want to repeat back to them what they said. And I want to understand their intellectual state, their emotional state, of what their goals are with the sale of this home. Sometimes they might need some education about what the market actually reflects, but that's that first bit. Once we've gone through there, we can start talking about the actual packages of marketing and the way that works. I have 4 different packages with 4 different service tiers. And then which one makes sense for the seller is really going to depend on what their goals are. So before we get into the actual closing marketing pitch, how do you go up and you knock on the door, ring ring, hey, this is Leah. How are you guys doing? What happens next?
That's great. Thanks. Thanks for that. Like you said, you want to be early. That's a big portion of it. Show that you're committed to showing up and meet and exceed expectations. And you start that off with a good impression. Get that confidence of, you need to hype yourself up sometimes and just make sure you're looking, nice and presentable. You don't have to go out and get yourself $1,000 suit or something. No. So, look professional, nice and clean, all done up. And yep, I knock on the door, say, hi, it's so nice to meet you in person. Thanks so much for, taking some time to meet me today. Is there a place I can set my things down? And that immediately I'm trying to solidify that we're going to be maybe, sitting down afterwards after a tour of the house. So I want to solidify a place where I'm going to put my bag, whether it's like by the kitchen table, by the couch, solidifying that that's where my stuff is. And we're going to end up back down there. And that's where we're going to sit to have our conversations after we take a walk around the house. So like you said, opening up the floor to them. You don't want to be the one talking the whole time. And this is where you really get to see their colors. And like you said, active listening is key. You want to see how they're reacting to things. Are they a little bit more reserved? What kind of education do they have? And what's their grasp on the reality of the market? Are they super sentimental? Like you said, they put so much money into the house and they're expecting to get, 40 times the amount they put in. Like, where's their head at? And that really you get from listening. So I'll take a tour around their house. I already, if you've done like a pre-listing call with them, you would have had some details about their house already. And I would always recommend that. Try to get as much information about their house as possible. So you can come up with a general number of where you think their house should go for. And so at this point, you're walking through, letting them show you all of, the stuff that they're proud of and excited to show. And then you're going to sit down and have that conversation afterwards. So I think we've both, talked about that it's important not to be the one taking control of, the whole conversation. You do want to set the standard, saying, I'm here to talk about your goals, as Zach said, or I'm here to help you envision, what that next step looks like, and help you to come up with a game plan that way. And that's my approach for sure. So very similar to yours. I just love research. So I think that's the only thing that kind of sets me apart from you, right?
Yeah, I guess we have very much the same approach. My paperwork's probably a little more streamlined. It sounds like it's really the only difference. And I just want to elaborate a little bit on what you were saying. The concept of having the conversation the seller's having, of really getting to know their goals, of seeing how you can help. Sometimes the closing conversation is talking about how, I'd love to go ahead and interview agents for you in this new area, make sure that gets set up correctly. We can get the tax attorneys involved, see if a 1031 is possible, and get this set up to move forward. Because their concern is, where am I going to go? They're thinking it's a seller's market. We're going to get money for it. I need to find a place to put it, and I don't want to be homeless.
Yeah, that is the biggest thing I'm coming across right now, is people are like, well, I'm going to be homeless if I sell my house now. It's like, no, like, we've got a game plan for you. Don't worry. Let's talk about that. Don't be nervous about that. But
yeah, that's exactly why we should meet, because without myself and my team, you really might be. So let's make sure we do this right.
I love that. Yes.
So just elaborating on that, if that's a conversation that they're having, then that's the conversation you should be having. And then at the end of the day, you can just say, well, let's go ahead and approve the paperwork and get started, and just send them the normal package. You don't really have to go into it. They didn't care. So that's kind of what that means. But as far as the packages go, I have a few different tiers of packages that I use, and everything is, up to negotiation, depends on the purpose. The first one is if you have a functionally obsolete home and you're looking for investors. That's a big one I've been working with right now. For me to take that from you, it's 4%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to network that through my network of investors, my team's network of investors. And I'm pretty well connected between other agents and myself to all the major players in the area. And so for 4%, that's it. We'll get the investors coming through, and that's going to cover my commission. That'll cover any other agent, and that will really keep the most amount of savings in your pocket.
Can I stop you right there for a moment to ask you, is this what you guys call an exclusive listing? Because that's what it's sounding like to me. We have something that's called an exclusive listing. It goes into our exclusive network, and we market it just solely to investors, our own database, and anyone who else is connected to our database via like other agents. But it does not go on the MLS. Is that what you guys call that package?
That is not what we call that package. That is what I'm talking about. But for us, exclusive listing is in opposition to an open listing. And that has to do with, am I the only agent that gets this, or can another agent also have a listing on your home at the same time?
Interesting. Okay. That is a realm, unless you're, co-listing with someone, that is a different type of realm that you guys are working with over there. Cool. I'd love to hear more about that for sure.
Yeah, it's an exclusive listing. I'd be the listing agent. But what we're saying is, we're not going to need to bring a marketing team through. We're not going to need to put it on the MLS. What we're going to do is we're going to reach out to the area's investors. We know what we're looking at. We're going to show them the numbers, and they may write, a lot of times they'll write stuff sight unseen, and they'll write it with a week-long close. And it's all cash, usually credit lines. And so that appeals to some people. Other people are going, no, this is not an investment property. This is, this is not a flip. This is my gorgeous home, and I want to do better. So then we have our basic package. Basic package is 5%. It goes on the MLS. We get a normal amount of marketing done, meaning we do the photos, we do videos, you get a website, it goes to 200 different websites, and you get one open house a week. All right, that's the basic package. The next package up is the deluxe package. Deluxe package is coming in at 6%. It includes a couple of other factors. It's going to include 2 open houses a week. It's going to include a call to every single agent in the MLS to let them know about our home. It's going to include social media advertising and social media follow-up, really leveraging out our call center. So not just calling the area, but we'll be running lots and lots and lots of social media ads and then following up with those people and setting those appointments, really driving that traffic in. And then, of course, we also are going to be doing 2 open houses a week, every single week until the home sells. And then the
Wow.
next one up is the concierge package. Concierge package is at 7%. And in the concierge package, it's everything in the deluxe package. Right. So you got your 2 open houses a week. You've got your phone call out to the entire MLS. Like personally call, let each agent know about this home. Do they have clients for it? Really making a big deal about this property. We've got the drone videos, the marketing videos. We've got the 3D MLS tours. We've got the whole marketing suite is put together. We've also will lend money on the property. Would a new fence attract more buyers? Would that kitchen being great as opposed to where it currently is, would that make a big difference on the sale price? Does the whole property need a remodel? We can go ahead and front that cost for you.
Wow. That's
We will
phenomenal.
also we'll also cover your inspection costs. If security is a big deal, which it is in a lot of these, nicer homes, I will personally be present at the property and I can get you video cameras installed on the property. So we know exactly what's going on and everything's tracked. That's the concierge package. And the big thing you're getting about that is you're getting some more opportunities for what can happen. And you're getting that peace of mind of, in all these things, it's a professional connection. We've got legal protection. But on the concierge package, it's headache free, it's stress free, and everything's protected and secured.
Love it. Love it. I'm sold. Where do I sign, Zach?
You sign right here and here, and then we get the marketing team in about 3 days.
Excellent. So for these different packages, do you guys also have any guarantees or say that, this package will produce a buyer quicker, or do you have any stats on if you list at this price, you're gonna, or at this commission, you're gonna net more because we're doing XYZ? Like, do you tie those kind of threads in there too?
Yes and no. It depends. So the first thing is I don't pitch all 4 packages to each person. It depends on the property. If I'm talking about an off-market property that's functionally obsolete that needs work done, we're going to talk about packages 4, 5, and 7, right? So that's going to be off-market, basic, and concierge. There's no reason to talk about the deluxe package. It's not helpful. Other times we might not talk about the off-market package. It's going to be the basic, deluxe, and concierge package. So really streamlining it down to 3 options. Really what actually makes sense for the seller. I'd love to make $1 million on the property. They're not mad about that. But let's find the best way for them to make the most amount of money and everything will work out well.
Exactly. And it does come down to types of marketing, does come down to what kind of media you're deciding to use and record with, what quality pictures and tours are you using to show this property, and who are you presenting this new information to? So that's excellent. We should have a conversation to see how we can implement that on our side here, because we do here anywhere from 4 to 6. And like you said, we do kind of set it up that you are, reaping more benefits with listing at a commission higher and what that includes. But we don't have like packages set out or anything like that. So that's a great tip to use, for anyone who's looking to structure and look to wanting to still net your commission that you so rightfully deserve because you are doing all this work, how to explain it in a way that a seller is going to be receptive to it.
Mm-hmm. And the way you do that is by explaining it to them in their terms. So that there's tricks about, how you phrase different professional fees, but that's what it is. They're hiring a service. So they're not going to care nearly as much about your service as they're going to care about the features and benefits of it. Right. And that's how you kind of are pitching those. And the other major recommendation I have is keep it to 3 options. 3 concise, simple options. When everything is clear and making sense, it's easy to take a step forward. When you bombard somebody with options particularly like with buyers. If you show them 30 houses, nothing happens because there's too many things.
I like that you said that. Yeah, the power of choice, right? When you bombard people, people get overwhelmed. This is piggybacking off of the conversation we had last week about when you're going to show buyers homes, you don't go and show them 7 houses at once. You want it to be precise and not get muddled and muddied in the waters, right? So I like that for sure. So are we talking about the close
Definitely.
really quickly a little
And
bit?
then, yeah, I was about to ask you. So you went through the house with them. You know their goals. You went over some different, couple different strategies you can use. You're framing that in terms of price point. I frame it in terms of packages, but we're very much having the same conversation, right? What can we do to achieve what goal? Um, so that's selling, right? You told about the features and benefits. How do you stop selling and start closing?
There is a pivot there. There's a big change. Your wording is going to be different. The types of potentially questions that you're asking are going to be different. And this is opening up the floor as well. I love the opportunity to answer any questions up front as well, to kind of, in case they did have any objections that could come up in their questions that you may not have talked about already is coming out. So I do open the floor a bit after, I go over everything, depending on the kind of vibes that you're getting from them at the time, after you've kind of displayed all the options and what's going on. A couple routes to take. Some people just go in and say, so to move forward, we just need your 2 pieces of ID so that we can start on this. And you just go into it, and they're going to be like, oh, okay, like here's what this is, the next step is get your IDs out, we're filling out this paperwork now. That's an approach. It's a little bit more of an assertive approach. If you feel like they're excited and they're ready, you can ask them about the different options that you just presented and which one suits you guys better at this time. And or maybe it's a follow-up appointment that you need to hit, and timelines are really something that they're juggling with, but you're going to be there with them along the way. So it just depends on and what you were able to uncover during that time, and are they actually ready, or were they just kind of humming and hawing about the idea altogether. So I do like to sit down, open the floor, just to reiterate, if there are a lot of objections that still might need to be kind of aired out, we'll go through that and say, which choice do you think suits you better? Oh, you like this choice better? Okay, to move forward, we just need your IDs so that we can get the paperwork started. Or don't even mention paperwork. Some people get, oh no, I gotta commit to paperwork or something. No, be excited about it and just say, oh, to move forward, we just need your IDs and we'll get started. Is that how you approach? Do you have a specific way that you approach it every single time? Are you kind of like a gauger like I am when it comes to the close?
Definitely. It depends a little bit. As you were saying, on what they kind of how they're reacting to everything. The assumptive closes, that's what you're talking about originally. Where you just go, all right, where you just need to approve here and here. We just need your IDs and we can get this approved and get started. Or saying something like, so we could get marketing team out here Wednesday. Does that work for you? Perfect. We just need some approvals right here. Those are all assumptive closes and they are powerful. Just start with that. And if that doesn't work, circle back.
Yes.
On the circling back, one of my favorite ones to go to, and it works well if they just didn't go for the assumptive close, and it works really well then. And it also works well if you maybe an S personality, they're not super secure, they're not super safe, um, or they're just like a poker face, and you just can't read them. And that's the scale to 1 to 10 close. So scale to 1 to 10 close. You're going to ask the prospect on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being this is horrible, please get out of my house, and 10 being let's do it, where can I go? Let's get this money. I'm stoked to Aruba. Where would you put this property? Where would you put this marketing plan? And where would you put my team? On a scale from 1 to 10. And then shut up. It's a game of silent chicken. And they'll start talking. And you can turn somebody's, oh, it's pretty good. Really? Okay, would you put it maybe like an 8? They go, yeah. Okay, what would make it a 10? And then they'll name things, and more often than not, they will name something and make it a 10 and then explain how it's not necessary. And you just smile and nod and go, so if I'm hearing this correctly, it is a 10. They go, yeah, let's go and improve right here and here. And this is getting to one more piece of homework that is so important. It's a lesson I had to learn repeatedly, which is fill out the listing agreement before you show up and bring it with you. Because if you, no matter how stoked they are about this, if you walk out the door and say, hey, I'll get it over to you in about an hour, it's not happening. Bring it with you.
Yeah, we've had some good conversations about that, Zach, and lessons learned and everything when it comes to getting that paperwork signed. And you don't want to be fumbling either. You want this to be a seamless thing. So whether or not you do like to use electronic listing paperwork, which you can do on the spot if you brought your laptop, or I do like to have most of the listing paperwork filled out with their stuff except their names, because I don't know what their full names are and things like that, and purchase price and potentially any conditions. But I always have it filled out with my brokerage stuff, my names in the positions they need to be in, and just to keep it streamlined, because if you're fumbling for 20 minutes, they're going to start being like, actually, can we call you tomorrow? And you don't want that. Like, hey, it's all good if you want to call me in the morning and rip it up, but I'm confident that that's not going to be necessary. You're moving forward to net the best amount of money and find that dream home, whether it be that situation or whatever it is. So get the paperwork with you. Do your homework.
Yeah. Like that might be more important than all of the other pieces of homework we talked about. Definitely more important than your team's information. Possibly more important than the CMA is having the actual agreement with you. Even if it's on your laptop, fill it out on your laptop so you can just put in the last three pieces of information and DocuSign it. Or even better, have that already set up so it's already ready for DocuSign. You just press send, and then you enter when you're signing all the couple question marks. That makes all the difference. And if you're sitting there going, well, this is like my 7th listing appointment and the first 6 didn't work, so I wonder when this one's not going to work, then why are you driving all the way to it? Why did you spend the gas money to it? Why did you spend all the time calling? You have to believe each one is going to work. And if it doesn't, on to the next, right? What's my lesson? On to the next. But if you enter into something thinking it's going to fail, you're right. That's like the old Henry Ford quote. Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right.
I love that. Yeah, it's so powerful. And that's what's so good about prepping yourself and prepping your mindset moving forward. Because whatever energy that you are holding on inside that you think people can't see on the outside is, you could have the best poker face as well, but that even says something, right? Like you can, the vibes are out there, you can feel the energy, people are receptive to those things, and you don't want there to be any objections, whether it be a visible one or through your tonality. You don't want that to be the barrier from you getting that listing, and sometimes that's what it comes down to.
And at the same time, just to make the other argument before we go over into letters, if you're new and you haven't done this before and it sounds nerve wracking and it sounds intense and you don't want to mess up, don't make the mistake of just living your entire career in training, because then you don't have a career. You have a hobby. Get up, get out, fail, learn something, fail again. That's the IBM CEO. His quote was, "If you want to succeed more, fail more." They tripled and when they doubled their production in I think it was the 80s, they tripled their failure rate. Just get out there, do your best, see what happened, do better next time. All this training, all these tips, all these techniques, they're helpful. Use them, practice, but nothing beats actually getting up there and doing it, even if it doesn't get signed that day.
That's so true. And that's, I think, our human condition to want to just prepare as much as possible and then not put ourselves out there. But there's so many studies out there that say that if you just go out there and let's say you really pushed it hard just to make those appointments for 3 months, and that's all you focus on was getting appointments, and you sucked so bad, but you were able to make, let's say, 30 appointments and you lucked out with the one, you know how much knowledge and like ground practical experience you just helped to compound on in those 3 months, that you know, if you didn't take that approach and you just wanted to be prepared every single time and it was such a slow process, you will just shave off so much of that time. And if I'm gonna, you know, say anything or recommend anything, it would be that. Like I'm one of those people who didn't jump in and just want to get out there and get that practical experience, and I noticed a big difference, and that's one of the things that I would have changed for sure.
Yeah, and it's not just that it leverages your learning curve, it exponentiates it. Practice is great, get coaches, get help, get training, but failing forward faster is the secret to everything.
It is. It is.
Perfect.
On that
So
note,
Leah, yeah, on to letters.
right? All right, we do have two letters here. We'll start with the first one here. Let me just pull this up. Okay. Dear Zach and Leah, I am a new agent who is also a bit younger, and I'm afraid that when I go into a listing presentation, I'm going to be asked about my age. What do I say to anyone who might be objecting to my listing presentation because they think I'm too young and inexperienced?
Definitely, I can appreciate that one quite a bit, and I'm sure you can as well, Leah.
Yeah.
A couple of keys to it. One is dress professionally. So like when I'm going to a listing appointment, I've got a tie on. Sometimes I have a suit jacket on. You have to dress like you actually know what you're doing. So that's the first big key. Second big key is know your numbers, know what you're talking about. It's okay to take a breath, wait, figure out what you're gonna say, speak. Do speak like you're intelligent and articulate. But when you're checking both of those boxes, my age is a massive advantage. What that means is I'm young, I'm awake, I'm energetic, and I'm hungry. I'm going to work harder, faster, and longer than anybody else in the market. And I'm not sitting back and leaning on my laurels of 30 years ago that time I did something. I'm fighting for each and everything every single second. I'm a star that's shooting up, and I can't wait to introduce that to you. Just introduce my work ethic. It's going to sound here and here.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. Sometimes I haven't necessarily had this objection hit me yet, but when I was starting out, I was concerned that I wasn't going to be taken seriously and wanted to prepare for that. And one of the styles of objection handling when it came to that is, you know, ask them a question about that. Say, oh, well, that's great that you brought that up. I want to just quickly touch on the average age of an agent. Do you happen to know what the average age of a real estate agent is? And they most likely say, I don't know, no, don't know, whatever. And you say, you know, the average age in Canada here is, what did you say? Is it 34 for you?
No, I said 104.
104. Close enough. I mean, just kidding for anyone who's 55, but 55 is the average. And so just leverage that and say, you know, with 55 being the average, you're going to notice a ton of agents are actually under the average age of the real estate agent. So let me show you, you know, exactly why leveraging a potentially, if they want to use the term millennial agent, to really attract those buyers who are not using those older methods of communication, you know, such as phone calls, just using phone calls, right? So I use an agent who's up with the times and adapting with the market, adapting with technology, to really leverage and tap into those markets where you're going to see, you know, as much, you're going to have as many eyes on the property as possible. So that's kind of my approach.
Definitely. I like that. That's bringing up another way to kind of handle that same objection. One is I wouldn't bring it up unless they do. Right? Just kind of act as if I think it's totally legit. I'm here, and it's totally fine for you to pay me $75K to do it. Like this, it's cool with me. It's cool with you. Let's do it. But if they do bring up your age, saying something like, I'm so glad you brought that up. You know, I was just working with my last sellers, and you know, I hear that you're feeling maybe a little unsure of working with a younger person, and so were they. And what they felt the same way as you. They felt unsure about it. They were questioning my age. It was really the only thing they weren't certain of. And what they found is that by hiring me, somebody that's younger, they found somebody with a work ethic, with energy that was up, that actually understood how to work these electronics. Our entire marketing platform is electronic. Oh, with COVID, all the documents are electronic. All of our advertisements are electronic. So having somebody that is a digital native, that just understands how phones and cell phones and computers, all of these things work, how they interact, that really brought them a lot of relief, trust, and security in the transaction. And it was one of the major things they brought up after we closed and they moved forward that really put them at peace of mind. So just the feel, felt, found script. I hear that you feel this way. These people felt the same way. And what they found is hiring me was the best decision they could have ever made.
Love it. Love it. Love it. And this comes down to practicing those types of handling and those kinds of scripts. And where's the feel, felt, found that people can kind of refer and maybe read about?
It's just those three words. It's feel, felt, and found. I hear you feel this way. These people felt the same way. And what they found is I'm awesome. Just less arrogant. But same thing. I don't know what script it came from. Most of my practice is from role play. I don't like reading scripts because I'll read my line and then I'll read your line and then I get confused. And then I do that enough that I'm not confused and I try it in real life and they don't say their line. So I want to show them the script and show them how they got the line wrong. It didn't work out well for me. But yeah, it's feel, felt, found. I hear that you feel unsure and uncertain because of these factors. This previous client of mine also had this similar feeling. And what they found is when they hired me, with the transaction went smoothly, they trusted everything and they appreciated they had somebody working for them that had the energy to keep up with the pace of this market, as well as the ability to work with all of the tools. So
Fantastic.
it's a way to bring in that recommendation, that referral, that you had the right word for it before. It's a major piece of your listing presentation.
Testimonial.
Um, yeah, that one. And you're able to write it yourself. So sometimes you might ad lib it a little bit. Maybe this is your imaginary client friend, but the story is still going to ring true.
Exactly. Great points there. I love it all. It is so powerful and you don't realize how powerful it is until you're on the other end of it. So feel confident knowing that it's coming out with a really good delivery, and that's what you should focus on. Don't worry about how it may sound. Just focus on the fact that it's powerful when someone says that. Awesome. So we'll just move on to the second one here. Dear Zach and Leah, I was calling a FSBO for sale by owner, and he was very abrupt. He doesn't want to work with an agent and wanted to quickly jump into just knowing my sales. A little bit more of a background about this potential client. He put his house up. He bought his house for 5 million, immediately put it back on the market for 9 million, and now it's reduced and down to 9 million on the market. How would you approach this? I'm going to let you take the lead on this one.
What would they reduce it to?
Was it 7 million?
Okay.
7 million.
What did they? Okay, 7 million. So there's a kind of a couple pieces of this conversation I'm trying to understand. It sounds like, to start with, he was one of those guys that bought a fancy house and then threw a bunch more money on it and put it back on the market. Want to see if someone give it to him. Nobody gave it to him. But there's a time gap there, and his number came down. That's telling me he's at least somewhat serious about selling it, because if time goes by, appreciation happens, and all of a sudden he's got a reasonable number. Maybe he's a reasonable dude. So that's one thing that it's starting to cue, is that it's to somebody who didn't actually want to sell that might actually want to sell. Another big thing that's standing out is when people play with money like this, they are almost always a D personality. Sometimes they're a DI, they're a DC, but they're a D personality. That's just almost a prereq of having that much money. And so one of the things that they're really going to appreciate is being direct and quick with what you're saying. If you start talking about, well, let's go ahead and meet, and really get to know each other in our marketing team. They might make fun of you, they might bully you, but they're not going to give you the appointment. Um, a real big key of this conversation is being quick to the point, quick with your questions, especially if they start to bully you a little bit. If they start going, oh well, how many sales have you had in this area in the last 6 months, and can you actually do this, and have you even been licensed that long? When they start doing stuff like that, just going, hey, I really want to respect your time. I got a couple of questions to see how this fits for my buyers. How long have you had it? Perfect. How many repairs have you had? Perfect. Any of your inspection reports recently? Okay, definitely. And what's your goal with it in terms of time and dollars? When can you move out? All right, fantastic. Now it's my broker's policy for me to come by and see the property before I can bring buyers through. Do you have time this evening, or would this weekend, maybe Saturday afternoon, work? Perfect. Saturday, let's go and do 3 o'clock. Boom. What's the best email for you? I'll send over the information. And keeping it short, quick, crisp, that's how I can take control of that conversation and earn that respect from them. They're not going to be a person that wants to get to know you or your marketing strategy. They're going to want to know that you're a professional. So Leah, what do you think about what I was saying? How would you go about something like this?
You really hit some very, very important parts here. This is a people business as much as it is a, housing market business. Sales is the epitome and like the center of our business and our industry. You need to make sure you're on your game to be engaging with different types of personality types. And so we, especially at Keller Williams, like to talk about the DISC profiling. So D being a dominant personality trait, and you can find really a lot of resources online about finding out where you stand on the spectrum of the DISC profiling, and really leveraging that to cater to people's personality when you start noticing traits coming through. So I love the point that you brought up that, people who have this kind of money, they don't mess around. They've got other things and phone calls and this and that they got to deal with. They're not there for the BS and the fluff. And I don't know if I would have picked that up. I may have just tried to be my friendly old self, right? Like, you're very, very intuitive when it comes to that. So you got to always have an open mindset when you're dealing with someone like this. Highlighting again, very abrupt. This goes off of what you said about, he's probably got a dominant, or he or she has a dominant personality type, no BS. So that was a really big highlight for me. He does look like he's just looking for a quick flip to see what's going on in the market. Maybe he's not, you won't know what his motivation is until you get face to face with him, and maybe have that more serious conversation there. So how I would approach this, be really quick on the phone and just go for that. This is why we should meet, so we can just quickly go over some goals so that we're not wasting any more of your time, or we're not wasting time here. We know exactly what you're looking for. Let's see if we can match this up to get you what you're looking for. So I would just not go into many details on the phone, be quick with it, and then just go a little bit more in detail when you see him. But it just takes a little bit more silence sometimes on the phone too. Like, if you're really holding, you say your little spiel in the beginning. Hi, I'm Leah. I'm here to talk to you about, setting one of your house up with my buyer. Let's go to discuss this, and move forward with that. And just wait on the phone. Don't muddy it up. Don't start, messing up with your words or wanting to fill in the space. Just wait. Right? We talked about that in the listing presentation. Just wait.
Silent chicken. First person to speak loses.
Make it his, right? You got to take that dominance back.
Definitely. And I just want to run through the DISC profile really quick. There's a lot of better information on the internet. But for those of you who don't know, a quick way to think your way through this. A D is going to be like a bull in a china shop. They're dominant, direct, and very, very confident, and they tend to be very short. Not short like mean, but short with their words. They go to where they want to go, basically. Then you've got your I. Your I like to remember, is I emotional. This is somebody that they're emotionally stable, but they are this is happy, that's sad, that's scary. Oh no, oh my, oh yes. It's woo. They're very fun. They're your talkers.
Yeah.
Um, Salespeople are almost always DIs or IDs or DIIDs. That's just like where we sit. Um, and then you've got your S type personalities. Your S type personalities you could think of as a sheep. They care about security and safety, silence. They are reserved, they're untrusting, and they are indecisive. S's you need to have a more strong armed relationship with because they won't make a decision. Kind of like if you guys ever read through the Bible, we hear plenty of examples of sheep, right? The people are all the sheep. That's not a compliment, man. Sheep are afraid of running water. Um, so you have to have a shepherd to kind of guide them and bring them with it. It's the same way when you're working with an S type personality. And then you have your C's. Your C's are computers. They are very analytical. They tend to be engineers, techies, and what they really care about is the numbers. Now, the funnest person to work with is a DC. You call them up and go, hey, found a property. What's the numbers? It's at 2.2. It's 1,000 square feet. It's going to be a knockdown. They have plans to 4,000 square feet already approved. It's a 7,000 square foot lot. What's the ARV? ARV is 4.3. All right, let's do it. Whole conversation. Like you will be on the phone and off the phone in 20 seconds. A DC is probably the shortest conversation you'll ever get. But that's kind of the personality profile. If you're in sales, I promise you, you're a D or an I or both. Most people, however, are S's and C's. S's is actually the most common category. So it's very important to learn how to work with all of those personality types. You really only find these in these higher price ranges. Do you have anything else to add to that, Leah?
No, you hit all the markers there. It's just so interesting if you're in sales to just do a little bit of background and research and educate yourselves on how to connect with people better, and it'll take you a long way. And you might not get it or be able to read people right off the bat, but when you start thinking about that subconsciously, your mind will start putting the puzzle pieces together. So those are kind of my last two words on that. Anything else you want to add on what it looks like to be a listing agent? I know we didn't really talk about the negotiations or anything, but that is a big subject on its own. Really ties in with being a salesperson as well. So we're definitely going to do an episode on that strictly to help you strengthen your negotiation skills. But with what we talked about so far, did we kind of hit the
As a concept of what you're doing, yeah, you are the liaison between the seller and everything the seller wants to do. Your job is to speak to them in the language they understand, translate that into industry and make it happen, and then take industry back and translate it back to them. You are somewhat, you could say, you're a well-connected tour guide, and the seller's on a make your own adventure. Would you agree as a concept? We can get into the techniques later, but as a concept, is that how you see it?
that's exactly how you see it. And just some things to always remember: you want to be honest with who you're dealing with. Honesty above all else. We are professionals in this realm. You need to make sure that's at the top of your game. A lot of people do see salespeople as sleazy and someone that you can't trust because they're in it just for themselves. So let's change the industry and show them that honesty is our policy here. And I really stand firm on that. So make sure that that's something that you want to really reflect on and why you're in this industry to begin with.
Definitely, definitely. I love that. And yeah, you have to be genuine, especially with deals this big. You can't force anybody anything. You can't lie anybody in anything. Um, like with smaller ticket items, you can, and then destroy your reputation, and then it doesn't work for you. In real estate, you just can't. There's too much stress. There's too many emotions. It's too long of a process. You can't cheat this. This is about service.
It is. So this is why we make these videos, is to offer support and help and to go through kind of how we approach being salespeople in this generation as well. So we hope that you enjoy it. If you ever want to reach out to us and have us answer any questions, we'd love to hear from you, even if it's just some comments there or some feedback on how we're doing with this podcast. We'd love that.
Yeah, please leave some comments down below. Please join our group. It's Cold Calling Champions with an exclamation point on Facebook. And then Leah is actually doing coaching calls now with people, working with them on their role playing abilities, myself as well. If you guys are interested in a one on one private scenario where we're working specifically with you, with your clients of this week, it's one thing to practice, it's one thing to role play. It's another thing to have private training tailored to exactly what you're working with. And that's something that we've been doing for almost a year now. It's very fun for us. It's such a learning experience for our students, and it's a game changer in your professional life. If that's something you're interested in, please reach out as well. We'd be happy to talk about different ways we can do that.
Yeah, I love that. And of course, Zach will be taking care of the US side of things. I'm in Canada here, so you do have help, regardless of where you are. And we'd love to kind of connect with you and see how we can help to exponentially grow your business as well. We have a lot of knowledge and we love sharing it with people. So we look forward to hearing from you guys for sure.
Perfect. And I'm excited to see you all next week. All right. Bye.
Bye, guys.